Welcome to today's story.
Jake stopped talking on a Tuesday in March. The funeral was over. The casseroles were eaten. The relatives went home. And somewhere between lowering his mother into the ground and walking back through the front door of their house in Asheville, North Carolina, Jake Aldridge, 16 years old, decided words were useless. His father, Paul, didn't know what to do with that. Paul was a contractor. He fixed things with his hands. He could replace a rotted beam, rewire a bathroom, pour a foundation from scratch. But his son sitting at the dinner table staring at a wall, that was beyond him. He tried talking. He tried silence. He tried driving Jake to a therapist in Weaverville who smelled like sandalwood and asked too many open-ended questions. Jake sat through 3 sessions without making a single sound, and Paul stopped scheduling appointments. That was 4 months ago. Now there was Peggy. Peggy Dunmore was a hospice nurse, 53, with thick-soled shoes and reading glasses she kept losing on top of her own head. She came to the house 5 days a week because Paul's father, Grandpa Clyde, had moved into the downstairs bedroom in June. Lung cancer, stage 4. The kind of diagnosis that comes with a folder full of pamphlets and very few promises. Peggy arrived every morning at 8. She checked Clyde's vitals, adjusted his medications, changed his IV line, and talked to him like he was a person, which Jake noticed. Not everyone remembered to do anymore. She asked Clyde about his years driving long-haul trucks. She asked about Paul's mother, who had died in 1987. She laughed at Clyde's bad jokes. And while she moved around the room, tucking sheets, washing her hands, writing in her clipboard, she hummed. She didn't even seem to know she was doing it. It was low and unhurried, sometimes a hymn, sometimes something Jake couldn't name. Once he was almost certain it was a Patsy Cline song, half a step flat, absolutely perfect. Jake heard her through the walls. The piano had been his mother's. A Steinway upright, dark walnut, pushed against the wall in the living room like it had always been there and always would be. Sandra Aldridge had played every Sunday morning. She taught Jake his first chords when he was 6. By 12, he was writing his own pieces, rough things, lopsided but alive. By the time she got sick, he was good enough that she would sit beside him on the bench and close her eyes. After she died, nobody touched it. Paul walked past it every day without looking at it. Jake sat across the room from it sometimes, at the edge of the couch, like he was keeping watch over something dangerous. In September, Jake pulled out his old composition notebooks. He started writing music again, not playing, just writing. He sat at the kitchen table at night with a pencil and staff paper, filling in notes and dynamics and tempo markings in his small, careful handwriting. He didn't know why. He had nowhere to send it. Until he did. One morning he heard Peggy humming something while she changed Grandpa Clyde's bandaging. A slow, circular melody, something in a minor key. It took him a moment, but he placed it. It was the opening theme from Schumann's Kinderscenen, scenes from childhood. His mother had a recording of it she played on long car rides. He stood in the hallway outside Clyde's door for a long time. That evening he wrote out a piece, a short one, a page and a half. He titled it simply, For P. He folded it, walked to the piano bench, lifted the lid, and slid the paper inside. He didn't know what he expected. He went to bed that night. He was certain she would set it aside, forget about it, or assume it belonged to someone else. Peggy found it the next morning. She came out of Clyde's room to refill his water and pass the piano. The bench lid was open an inch. She lifted it, found the paper, unfolded it. She stood there reading it for a long time. She looked up and Jake was in the kitchen doorway watching her. She held up the paper. "Did you write this?" He nodded. "This is beautiful," she said. She wasn't being polite. Her voice had that specific weight people carry when they mean something completely. "Do you play?" He nodded again. "Would you play it for me?" He shook his head. She didn't push. She folded the paper carefully and put it in the front pocket of her scrubs. Paul found out 2 weeks later. He came home early from a job site and found a second sheet on the piano bench. Jake had been leaving them regularly now, one every few days. Peggy had mentioned it to Paul in passing, thinking he knew. He did not. Paul picked up the sheet music. He stared at it. Then he walked to Jake's room and knocked. Jake opened the door. "You're writing music again," Paul said. Jake looked at him. "For her, the nurse," Paul's voice was tight. Jake couldn't tell if it was anger or something else. "You won't talk to me. You won't go back to school. You haven't touched that piano in 7 months, but you're writing music for a woman you barely know." Jake held his father's gaze and said nothing. Paul's jaw worked. "Your mother loved that piano, Jake. You just let it sit there like it's." He stopped, pressed his hand flat against the doorframe. "I don't know what to do with you. I don't know how to reach you, and it scares me. It scares me every single day." He walked away. Jake stood in his doorway for a long time. That night he sat down at the piano. He didn't play his own pieces. He played his mother's, the Schumann, from memory, all of it, every movement, and he played badly at first because his hands had forgotten, and then they remembered, and the room filled up with something that had been missing from it for 7 months. Paul came downstairs at some point. Jake heard him sit down in the armchair near the window. He didn't look over. He kept playing. When he finished, the house was quiet. Paul said, "She used to play that on Sunday mornings." "I know," Jake said. It was the first thing he had said in 4 months. His voice came out rough and low, like a door opened after a long winter. Paul didn't make a big deal out of it. He just said, "Yeah." And then after a moment, "You hungry?" "Yeah," Jake said. They went to the kitchen. Peggy came the next morning and found a new piece on the bench. This one had a note attached, written on a torn piece of notebook paper. "I played last night. I think I'm going to keep playing. Thank you for humming, Jake." Peggy read it twice. She set it back on the bench. She went into Clyde's room and checked his vitals and adjusted his pillow and asked him whether he thought the Braves had any shot this season. And Clyde said absolutely not, and she laughed. And she hummed while she worked. Down the hall, Jake sat at the kitchen table with a new sheet of staff paper. He picked up his pencil. He began to write.
And that's the end of the story. Where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below, and I love seeing where you all are. If this story moved you, hit subscribe. New stories every week, and I don't want you to miss a single one.